Welcome to game two. This is, Complexity's Rise versus CheckSix's Shadow. And of course, with me here is Laser. I am Gwyn. And we're casting the ESEA finals between CheckSix and Complexity. If I remember correctly, CheckSix went through the ESEA undefeated in Complexity, losing a couple games, or a couple matches, but not a lot. And we saw some pretty good Zerg play out of Rise in the first game. Had a bad engagement, and everything kind of went downhill from there. So Shadow did take that first game, and it looks like we're going to be seeing another Forge Fast Expand out of Shadow, throwing that pylon on the low ground.
Not a bad choice on this map. Positions are nice. If he does the same type of opening with the Void Ray, way more productive on this map due to the close positions instead of cross positions like they had last time. But if Ryze can be as aggressive as he was and do the damage he did, it'll be his game. You know, Ryze, I was actually impressed with how he dealt with that, and then just kind of like a little slightly disappointed with his Corruptor action last game.
Yeah, the Corruptor miscontrol. I mean, I think probably what happened is he just let his Corruptors, auto attack. He just moved in and then microed his roaches. And of course, what you want to do in that situation is you want to focus down the Colossus first. And the Void Rays, he really, Shadow did really not have that many Void Rays, and the Corruptors can easily deal with the Void Rays, and once you've taken that Colossus number out, because Colossus takes so long to reproduce, it's easy just to make, a few more Corruptors, and then deal with the Void Rays then.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I was actually just the whole game blew my mind that Ryze didn't win. That's literally what happened. I was just surprised. But Ryze over here going pull. Got his gas ready, so it's going to be speed play. And Shadow just being annoying with that probe, mining a little bit.
Certainly is.
And he's
keeping
scouted
them from those close patches. So Shadow does know, that we did go gas pool here, and is still opting, to go for this. And look at this pylon placement at the back, blocking that Zergling run highway there. Of course, Ryze sitting here with the Overlord, sees everything, and looks like he's pretty fine with it. We are going to have some Zerglings out on the map soon. Speed should get started in a moment. I would think so. Come on, start the speed.
Unless there's any reason to go insanely quick lair. I mean,
start the speed. I was actually just thinking about that. Going quick lair against this and then pooping some creep, getting some spine crawlers to knock down this wall. A strategy that was used by, I believe it was Nestea versus Hongun in the GSL. A bit ago, and actually that might be what we see as soon as this queen pops. That would certainly be a lot of fun and pretty interesting to see. But he needs to start moving those overlords down there immediately if that is his plan.
Nope. Oh, is it?
It is. We do see a quick lair. Ooh, I'm actually very excited about this. This is the kind of strategy you don't get to see very often. Going a quick lair with a hatch there. You can transition very easily into some Hydralisk play off that quick layer after you've knocked down that Forge Fast Expand with those spine crawlers. But he does need to get those overlords in place. Layers build very quickly.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. I don't know. I've never really seen this used enough to see if it would actually be like that viable. I mean,
the other thing this could be with the quick layers, this could be a Nidus all in out of Rise. After that last game, he might be a little bit tilted, and being a little bit Protoss Imba, and so we could be seeing a Nidus all in. There is this Overlord still scouting around in the main base. I don't know if I'd be surprised to see something like that.
Well, that Cybernetics core, if you look, is like just over halfway done, and that means no stalkers can come pick this one off, so it's got free roaming, but it really needs to get to a position where it could drop the worm out, or put a second, drop a second Overlord in the smoke cloud in the corner, but I don't think we're going to do Nidus.
We'll have to see. I mean, he does need 200 gas to lay down Nidus, and no, it's actually going to be drops, so we do see Ventral Sacks on the way, so we're going to have some fast drop play. I'm not sure if this is the way I would have gone in Ryze's position, but it looks like this build is at least somewhat well thought out. So we'll have to see what he does out of this. He still only has one queen, and getting that drop, I would assume he's going to get Overlord speed next very shortly. If you line that up nicely with the drop, they both finish at the same time. All of a sudden, you go from having slow Overlords that can't drop to
Oh, okay. I don't know if you noticed that, but he started researching it in the same hatch that had
And then he canceled
the
and went to the
drops,
other.
and I was like, uh-oh. You know what? I mean, I don't know what the chances are that Ryze sits around and YouTubes his own name, but Ryze, if you watch this, props, man. I'm so glad that someone's doing something I mean, it's not 100% new, but
yeah.
just not standard. And I like that he's doing it after he lost the first game. Because most people win the first game and then just do like some ridiculously off-the-wall crazy stuff or something really cheesy and try to get like a second win like really fast or confuse their opponent. Ryze is like, I lost one. And he's like, you know, and then usually when you're down one, the opponent always thinks, okay, well, he's going to do something standard.
Oh, and look at this. He does have the lings. He's about to load up into those overlords as soon as he gets speed.
Speed popped. Oh, it's awesome, dude. This is great.
Great timing out of him. He's at 52 food. He's going to drop this in the main. And look at this. Warp gate, not even halfway done. What does Shadow have to defend this? He's got one stalker in the main, and that is a lot of lings for one stalker to deal with.
Gonna have to see, man. Like you said, Warp Tech isn't done. Oh, but there's a Void Ray. A Void Ray.
One Void Ray is going to clean up all these lings, but let me tell you, these lings are going to do a lot of damage. Target firing the Nexus now. Can they get it? That would be absolutely huge.
Yeah, but you know what? If they get the one Nexus, man, there's 5. Oh, the 2 Zealots are stuck in between the gateways. Look.
Wow, a missed rally, 2 Zealots stuck in, targeting down that own pylon now, and these lings, you know, regardless of, you know, of anything, are going to do a lot of damage here. This warrior is going to clean this up, but what a great strategy out of Ryze. I really like that opening. He's got his second queen out. He's got 2 bases up to the Protoss 1, which is a great place to be in, and Protoss has spent a ton of money on gateways that he cannot support.
Yeah, well, not even that he can't support now. He has to get his economy back up. He's got way too many probes. I mean, look at how saturated the natural is. He has to clean this up, which is going to be almost impossible because, again, is Warp Tech done? Still not done. So he can't even warp in Zealots to deal with this amount of lings. He has 2 Void Rays now that have to slowly pick these off. And then he has to reestablish a Nexus up here. Here comes a probe, so maybe he'll get that Nexus going. But, like, wow.
And look at this. Ryze gonna stick with the drops, got Hydralisks on the way, has Hydra range on the way. I would not be surprised to see Ryze just continue to drop this main close air positions. You know, I've seen a lot of, you know, great close air stuff out of Terran players with drops, Warp Prism play, but I don't think I've ever seen anything like this out of a Zerg. This is great to watch.
Yeah, this is really good. This is like, do you remember back when Lost Temple was in the map pool for the ladder? This was like when Zerg finally realized that they could put Hydras with range on the ledge like the Terrans do with tanks.
Yep.
When
couldn't quite take out a Nexus with it, but you certainly could do some damage. We have some lings poaching out into the map. Another Overlord over here, and you know, rebuilding the Nexus in his main. Probably not the position that Shadow wanted to be in at this point in the game.
You know what, man? That play by Ryze is just great, and Ryze is definitely ahead. Like, he's clearly ahead after the damage he's done. But after seeing what happened last game, I'm not going to count Shadow out yet. Shadow has a lot of structures. He has the ability to get right back in the game. It's not like he lost a lot of probes either because he's really saturated. So, I mean, as soon as this Nexus pops, he's going to be able to go right back into the economy of it. As long as he, you know, keeps what he has, if he doesn't lose any more units or buildings, you know, and just keeps tight his defense, I'm not going to count him out yet, but he's definitely got his back against the ropes.
I do want to point out that there are 19 Hydralisks out. I'm not sure if that is the best move out of Ryze, you know, especially since Hydralisks are so easily dealt with by, you know, units with AoE, and we do see a robotics bay on the way, so we could have some Colossus incoming. But look at these Hydras gonna get dropped. Can he take out some of those Overlords before they get out? No, he cannot, and that's a lot of Hydralisks. That's 19 Hydralisks in the main, on creep even because of those Overlords. You're gonna do so much damage against this gateway composition.
Shadow has to make sure he doesn't lose his Nexus a second time. The Assimilator is not such a big deal. A couple gateway things, like a couple Zealots, not such a big deal, but if he loses that Nexus a second time, he is in a world of trouble.
I'm not sure what Ryze is doing here. Half his units are not engaging at all. Looks like it was a missed micro, and Shadow's going to clean up 19 Hydralisks with basically no fight. I really do not understand, Ryze once again making a big micro mistake in a battle, not engaging with his units, and allows Shadow to just easily clean it up. He's also going to lose a ton of these Overlords to these Void Rays.
I think what happened is, if you look at the other side of the base now, Ryze was loading up Speedlings and 2 more Hydras, and was doing another drop from the other side. So I think he was trying to do like a 2-sided drop, not like a flank, or not attacking from, well, I guess not from the front and back, but from the right and left side is what he was going to try to do. And while he was loading up and coming over, Shadow just went in and got lucky.
Killed off all his Hydras. That is very unfortunate. We do see another 19 Hydralists out on the field, going to be loading up quickly into those Overlords again to try this drop again. But, as Shadow holds these off successfully, he gets farther and farther ahead. I mean, we can even see it in the food differential. He's already catching up. And Ryze looks like not paying attention and, going to be able to take out a Void Ray. Actually, that was a quick drop, a great move out of him. And the other Void Ray escapes with 3 hit points. Wow, that is a lucky Void Ray there.
That's cutting it close, man.
That Void Ray pilot is probably pretty pleased with himself, pulling back at the last minute there.
Still no Colossus out. 1 on the way, though. But once you get Colossus against this, I mean, he has nothing but Hydra. He has nothing to tank the damage. He has nothing for the front. I mean, the Hydra would have been great. I mean, I feel like if he'd have kept a little more pressure on with the Zerglings, after he took out the Nexus, he lost, I don't know if you noticed, but he lost like 30 Lings just in the corner of his base that were doing like absolutely nothing. He took the Nexus out and he felt satisfied, which, I mean, I'd be really satisfied if I took a Nexus out too, but you can't just let your units stand there and be idle. So he didn't do any constant pressure, and then he got Hydras out and he lost them. If he would have done more damage with the Hydras, maybe all Hydra would be okay. But I feel at this point like he needs a beefy front unit. He needs a shield. He needs something, because they're not beefy. Hydras do great damage, but they're like glass cannons.
They certainly are. I mean, the low health on the Hydralisk makes it a perfect snack for the Colossus. We do see one Colossus, about halfway done. Thermal Lance, almost done. And I would not be surprised to see, a big, Hydra gateway, or a big, Colossus gateway force completely annihilate this basically all Hydra and Queen army here. And I really feel like, after he took out those Void Rays, he had all of his Hydras in this position right below the main. If he just loaded up and dropped in the main, there really would not have been anything Shadow could have done about it. He had like 24 Hydralists at that point, but now he has waited too long. There are 2 Colossus out, and we are seeing a push.
Yeah, this is going to be bad for Ryze. He has nothing to tank the damage. He's not even going to be able to get to the Colossus, because like Shadow has all these units that can just tank for him, and he has so many just sentries. He has so much Guardian Shield coverage. This is going to be really bad for Ryze.
It certainly is. And look at these Hydras off creep so slow. And this hatch at the gold is going to go down. Will he cancel in time? Yes, it looks like he does get the cancel off. But, I mean, this Hydra force, he has so many Hydras. If we go to the unit counting station, 25 Hydras and only 9 Roaches, 5 Queens. Worker count, Zerg, of course, a little bit ahead, but that is where you need to be as a Zerg player.
Yeah, it's going to be 3 base to 3 base now that the gold is denied. Shadow just setting up his third now, but Ryze established, not so saturated, but, I mean, the larva's nice. He does have this little macro hatch in between, but just not the right units. I mean, that's all you can say. I mean, he's getting a couple Roaches and a couple Corruptors now, but I feel like it's too little too late.
Yeah, I really feel like, this was such an overcommitment to Hydralisks. And, I mean, Hydralisks are that unit that Protoss wants Zerg to make in the mid-game. Because if Zerg makes Hydras in the mid-game, that is a lot of money invested and a lot of supply invested in a unit which is very ineffective against Colossus and very ineffective against against Storm as well. I mean, and of course that is the follow-up to this, is to transition into a Templar heavy tech. And if we look at the production tab, doesn't look like he's doing that yet, but would not be surprised to see that as the follow-up. Blink is about to finish, and +2 weapons about halfway done as well.
I like these 2 changelings that are just running around in the third now.
Changelings, of course, finally getting targeted down by those cannons. Shadow had to notice those again. Hey, you know what? I don't have zealots over there.
So yeah, I mean, both players kind of look like they're getting ready for that big A click type of battle.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, not always the best and not always the most entertaining, but that's actually load up. Okay, so we might
Ooh.
have a drop A click battle.
Yeah, I mean, if we doom drop into the main, this could be pretty effective. He just needs to be careful, to get those Colossus before they get in range. He does have a decent amount of Corruptors out. What is that? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Corruptors out, so that might be a good thing, but he needs to target down this Colossus. There are 5 of them, and the blink up. And this is a big unload in the main. Creep going down from those overlords, but he needs to engage properly. And look at this Ryze again, not bringing all his units into the battle. He's finally bringing those Corruptors in and then pulling them back. They haven't done any damage, and his entire Hydralisk Roach Fort melts to 5 Colossus. It didn't even matter what other units he had. And the blink forward, and Ryze has to pull back, at quite a supply deficit, but he does have 16 roaches in production. Maybe that was part of his plan. He's going to drop, try and take some things out in the main, distract the force, buy some time, and then remax on roaches, which are a much better place to be, but he is broke out of minerals, trying to expand to the gold.
Extremely broke. He's got gas. I mean, he has enough of that to play around with, but I don't know, man. Like, every time I watch, like, Ryze do something, like, oh, man, this is good, and then, like, I don't want to say he gets like overconfident or cocky or anything, but like it's like he has like one really good thing that happens in the early game, because it happened last game and this game, and then like it's like he gets comfortable and it starts to slack, which is like kind of upsetting, because I've been impressed both early games and then like just like what's going on by the mid game.
I really feel that the issue here is just in his engagements. Watching those engagements, he definitely had, pretty good decision making, except when he gets into engagement, and then he just targets the wrong thing or doesn't engage at good angles and loses his entire army. And look at this, hallucinating a whole bunch more Colossus. This is probably the scariest Protoss army I've ever freaking seen.
And half of it is fake.
And half of it is fake. Reminds me a little bit of the Idra vs. Hut game in MLG, or was that IEM?
No, it was MLG.
We do see this force just walking in, gonna take that out, and this Roach Corruptor force not gonna be enough. And this is again a terrible engagement angle. We see a couple fungals go down as those infestors pop, but the engagement angle for Ryze not the best. Don't want to engage in these narrow chokes where you can easily get force fielded, and Colossus just eat your entire army.
I think actually going Infestors earlier would have been a great decision, getting Fungal Growth off on the Blink Stalkers and maybe even taking control of a few Colossus.
And a sigh, but no GG. Ryze a little bit tilted there after that one, probably a bit frustrated with himself in that loss, but unfortunately it's all in those engagements, a little bit more micro in the engagements. I think he would have had that game easily, but Shadow pulling out the win from behind in the beginning, both games in a row, and that puts CheckSix up 1-0 in this ESEA Grand Final. With that, this is Gwyn and Laser. We are going to be signing off and jumping right into the next game.